I'm Irma Francis, and welcome to Soul Talks. I am joined today by Michael Joseph. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
And Mike or Michael, which do you prefer?
Mike is fine.
Mike. Mike is a massage therapist and a Zen Shiatsu practitioner.
That's right.
And much, much more, but we're going to focus a little bit on your work and hopefully also share just about on a personal level who you are, on a being level who you are.
Okay.
So, what can you tell me about the Shiatsu, the Zen Shiatsu? How does Zen Shiatsu differ than Shiatsu, or is there a difference?
I'm not sure. Seriously, in my program, we never really got too much into what the Zen part was, but my guess is that it has to do with mindfulness, becoming an empty vessel. We talk frequently about the merging of energies, for lack of a better term, becoming one, which is essentially what goes on, trusting your instincts, being very present with that person. So all that kind of reminds me of meditation, being present, being clear, becoming a vessel. I mean, this is just, I'm ad-libbing now. Again, we never talk, oddly enough, in 2 years of the program, we never talk about the Zen component.
But you yourself have, you know about Zen, and you've done meditation, and so just in your own words, and on a personal level, how do you integrate that Zen understanding into your practice?
Pretty much by what I said. I do try to empty myself in preparation for a session, whether it's, including the drive up to see a client, in terms of really putting myself behind and allowing myself to listen and to tune in, to breathe with the client, to be totally present for them. That's the part that makes sense to me. Not to think in terms of clinical concepts, not to even to think too much of an approach, but let the moment unfolding guide me. What I find in each moment is an aha, maybe this, go here.
So there's a lot of intuition.
A lot of intuition, a lot of just trusting the moment. The more I can do that, the better the session is. So that part, I would say, kind of speaks to the Zen component. Moment to moment, being present. Don't get in your own way.
So say, for example, someone came to you and they were experiencing a lot of arthritis, say in their neck, something like that. So through your studies, is that something you have an awareness of, or do you, like you said, you just go into that session and kind of allow the body to talk to you in a way?
Well, both. I mean, there's a lot of preparation to this work, to do this work. The Zen part does come with after all the academics. That's the hard part to learn. But you need a theoretical understanding of the body, the physiology, and especially the Chinese medicine component, which speaks to arthritis, which has its own interpretation of arthritis according to certain imbalances by the 5 element associations. That's kind of the template by which Shiatsu has emerged as a practice. So there's a lot of understanding of how energy works, how it gets imbalanced, how it expresses itself when it gets imbalanced, and also what to do about it. So I do bring that to the session. I combine that with a real intuitive, I don't know if that's the right word, but a sensitivity to the here and now, what I'm feeling, what else I'm noticing. Don't come in with any preconceived notions, and let the body tell me what's going on. I'm not quite sure if I answered your question,
Yeah.
but it is a combination. Yeah, there is a lot of learning, a lot of book learning, always will be a lot of book learning, in addition to trusting what comes through what unfolds during the session.
Yeah, well, intuition, meaning the inner teacher, it sounds like you would rely a lot on that inner teacher, besides all the book learning and education that you had to go through to become a practitioner.
Right.
That just as important is that inner teacher, that intuition when you're in a session with somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can't be rigid in concluding that arthritis means this.
Yeah.
Everybody who comes in with arthritis has their own personal story to tell about it and the reasons why they became arthritic. So I'm not going to even come from a vantage point of Chinese medicine and say, oh, this is what arthritis expresses in terms of imbalances, with the 5 elements, the earth, fire, water, wood, metal. Right. So I'm not going to be rigid in any interpretation.
So before you do a session, do you do any kind of dialogue
Oh yeah.
with your client? Do you call them clients or patients? Or nothing
Client
at all?
and nothing at all. Yeah, I know. Customer doesn't work.
Yeah.
Client sounds more business. Patient sounds more medical. So none of those really speak to it.
Human being works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you have a
we call it.
dialogue with them?
Oh yeah.
Before, you do.
Yeah. And if they become any regular client, I do start to take notes and to be a little more analytical and combine my intuition with the analysis and try to understand what's going on with them from an energetic standpoint, energetic, physiological standpoint. But yes, we talk, what's going on, when did you first manifest these symptoms, what else was going on in your life at the time. I do know somebody has very bad rheumatoid arthritis. It happens soon after childbirth, right? So that's significant, that tells me something. Turns out blood loss is a precursor to some forms of arthritis. Well, during birth, there's quite a bit of blood that's lost. What other stresses have been going on at that time. Where do you feel the arthritis? What aggravates? Typical doctor stuff. What makes it feel better? Where is it located? Can you point specifically to it? Yeah, I'll be doing all that. Yeah.
And during this dialogue, would you mind moving? Because I think I have us kind of.
Is my head cut off?
It might be.
Oh God, I'll have to redo this.
Yeah, no, we're fine. We're fine. So during this dialogue, do you are you also paying attention to their body language,
Yes.
other things going on that would give you more clues as to what's causing their disease?
We're always looking for what's under the covers because you cannot always get the complete picture through the verbal exchange. So we do look at things like quality of voice. How's it sounding? Does it sound sad? Does it sound loud? Does it sound soft? Does it sound, what certain qualities, not to get into all of them. Remember I had this lady, she always shouting, right? Always. Well, it turns out she's angry, and that tells me there's a liver imbalance because the liver is the seat of anger. So we're looking at that. We're looking at the coloring of the skin. We're looking at the feel of the skin. Is it hot, cold, dry? Bags under the eyes, and it may indicate dampness. Fluids aren't moving in the body. That would point me to certain organs. Acupuncture points or acupressure points. Shiatsu would call them tsubos. So we're looking at all that. The gait.
The gait.
How they're walking. How they're walking. And as odd as this sounds, even the smell. But yeah, certain smells convey certain imbalances, and that's a very powerful indicator. As curious as that sounds, the sound. So yeah, there's all sort of things that we're looking at other than the words.
That's interesting because when you first started talking about what you're observing, I definitely notice in myself whatever is going on mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, a lot of times does show up. I can hear it in my voice.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. The fundamental teaching of Chinese medicine is that our mind is not something between our ears, but the mind is dispersed throughout the entire body. There's no mind-body, according to Chinese medicine. It's just, I don't even know what the term would. Again, mind-body would still convey, if you join them together, some sense of dualism, but they absolutely make no distinction.
Like a flow of energy?
Yeah. Yeah.
And where in that energy flow are the blocks that are causing the disease?
Right, right. So our voice is the expression of our mind, our internal organs are an expression of our mind, our skin is the expression of our mind, our muscles, mind is integrated fully within our constitution. So something like singing, thinking of one quality of voice which we call singing, but
somebody who kind of
song
sings
like, yeah, they talk like with a lot of inflections.
Yeah.
Well, that conveys the earth element, right? So, and then earth element, the associations of that is certain personality characteristics, and that conveys to me, well, there's sensitivity in the stomach and spleen and pancreas digestion. So that's all.
That's interesting.
Chinese medicine.
Because I think I could be sometimes singing.
Sing song.
Yeah.
Well, you're also then a very empathetic person, because that's characteristic of Earth. You care, sympathy, and you, if you are an Earth person, I'm not saying you are, but you worry a lot. that's the flip side. That's the bad side. But so yeah, so I'm not quite sure how we got onto this, but yeah, our entire personality, our entire mind, what we call mind, is expressed throughout our entire body.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because
right.
I think you started out by saying there is no mind-body.
It's
like it's two separate things.
No, there's no mind-body connection. It's a one concept deal.
Yeah, which brings me into this question, or just curiosity, because I am such a spiritual person, and this, what you practice and what you help people with seems so spiritually connected to me, because the biggest part of how I would define spirituality is being connected and knowing that there is a main source from which everything else flows. And so it would seem to me in what you do that you are also somehow including that spiritual awareness in your practice.
Well, this is a good time to really mention the underpinnings, the origins of Chinese medicine, which is, like, as far as I can tell, 5,000 years old, but it comes from Taoism, right? So Taoism, what is Taoism? It's It's the understanding of the laws of nature by the original Taoist who observed how life works, how the cosmos works, how things are interrelated, what's the laws that make things happen. Now, spirituality isn't something that exists aside from that. It incorporates all that. It's part of that. So when we talk about spirituality, well, what are the governing laws, the highest order of understanding of how things work in our relationship to both the environment and ourselves and each other? And then they came up with those laws, okay? Mm-hmm. Which, again, is represented in the 5 element associations that I spoke of earlier. Concept of yin and yang. But part of this is the understanding that, how do I bridge this to spirituality? Just the understanding that there's order and there's a system out there, and there's an intelligence for how things work. Is it more than just physiology or the biology or the mechanisms by which we know matter? To be honest, Chinese medicine and Taoism don't directly, from what I see, speak to the notion of God. But for me, I believe it's all a manifestation of what we call God. All these laws represent, God's laws. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. The part in Shiatsu that I would call spiritual do I have an answer? It comes down to how do I put this? What's a spiritual?
I think you kind of started out by saying, and I'm not sure your exact words, but that it's connected to Taoism and nature.
Nature's a big part of it.
And so, a question I would have is, where and how did we become separate from nature? Aren't we also nature?
Well, okay. Okay, good. You got me back on track here. The same things, the same laws that govern nature, those forces are manifest within ourselves. So nature has hot, cold. Nature has wind. Nature has dampness. Nature has dryness. All these forces that govern nature also work within us.
Because we are nature,
and
too.
We are nature. We're integral to the laws of nature, and we live in that environment, and we need to be aware of our habits and the way we go about living our life in such a way to enhance, facilitate the relationship with those laws. For instance, it comes down to even the foods we eat. It comes down to how we conduct ourselves in winter, which we are in now. This is the water element, right? It's literally a time for going within, right? We need to honor that. We don't need to be very active and find a real energetic expression. We may find ourselves being more tired, sleeping more. It's common, but this is nature operating through us, right? Darkness, right? We need to embrace the darkness. It's dream time. These are all the elements of water. So what we see in nature now is working through us, and we need to understand that, respect it, and work with it. That's
Work with it rather than
these
against it.
right, because these forces, these forces and properties that we currently find by season in nature are also manifest within ourselves. Is that spiritual? I think so,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it speaks to our relationship to the greater, to something greater.
Absolutely spiritual. And a big point to make, I think, is that we're working with those laws rather than against those laws of nature, because when we work against the laws of nature, that's a big part of, I'm guessing, what causes
Absolutely.
disease.
What causes the energy, the chi in our body not to flow the way it should. It becomes stuck, it becomes deficient, and then we suffer.
Yeah.
Right. It comes down to even wintertime, the foods we should eat, the colors that we should maybe want to dress in or bring into our environment, the blues, the blacks, the rooted vegetables. Rooted vegetables are good in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So it's very holistic. I guess
Yeah.
that's an overused word, but it is very holistic.
Yeah.
So we are so much a part of this thing we call nature. We need to work with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think.
Not work against it,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah. And I think, at least in our Western society, that's a big part of a lot of the illness that we have, because in some big ways we've disconnected from our connection with nature.
Yes, we are so out of sync with the laws, the Tao, Taoism, the laws. That is why we ultimately get sick. Almost all, I'd say all disease, all illnesses is somehow an energetic imbalance. Not just from emotions. I mean, that's the thing that's being stressed a lot. But emotions have a big play in our chronic, especially in our chronic complaints. But again, violating the laws. In Shiatsu, the session, the goal of which is to bring you back into balance. See where the imbalances are and bring you back, at least temporarily, but you get to that point of balance by understanding where in the body the imbalances are.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So back into balance, which that kind of, you mentioned yin and yang, masculine, feminine. Everything in life has two sides to one coin, right?
That is the fundamental law of the universe. Yes,
Yeah.
right there. You just said it.
and to work with that in this dance that that flow does happen, and the imbalances and the disease comes from somewhere. Somehow a person has gotten out of balance with that beautiful dance that's just natural in life.
Right. Yeah, so what the ancient Taoists found was it was one of their original understandings of yin and yang, that this energy, this life force, chi, what is it made up of? What are the rules that govern it? Day, night, dry, wet, cold, heat, masculine, feminine. It goes on and on and on and on. These are the laws of yin and yang. And again, one of the reasons we get sick is that we could be deficient or excess on a chronic level with either yin or yang. And one will deplete the other if it's too excess, and then the other one is insufficient, and then it cannot nourish the other. That's getting into a little more abstract concept, but they need to be in relative balance. And they are never in total balance. So,
but they can reach a place where that flow is there.
that they don't cause any harm. Right.
Yeah.
There's no imbalance, no imbalance to the point that we suffer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which kind of brings me to this question. What led you into the desire to do this kind of work? What attracted you to it?
Well, my original dream when I was a young adolescent was to be a psychologist, because I was such a troubled soul back then. And I did study psychology for a while, and then I just found it to be a bit empty, not having the answers that I was looking for. It was good. I mean, I don't want to.
Because we, as human
Yeah.
beings, we have a psyche, so there's a necessity for psychologists.
There's a necessity, but we have to understand. I begin to understand is that psychology is a relatively recent phenomenon. I mean, come on, with the advent of Freud back in the 20s, so what is that, less than 100 years? So why are we totally saying that this is the final statement when it's, when the whole notion of healing, the practice of healing has been going on for thousands of years. So what was everything else before current psychology, psychiatric thought, was all that just nonsense?
Like wasted. Just
yeah.
Wasted means
Or
nothing.
it
This
was
is where we kind of started.
Right, that it was primitive thinking, now we have science, and ultimately it wasn't helping me, to be honest. I mean,
It's such a good point that you're making. When in our history did psychology come into the forefront?
Yes, and
why
be the standard.
Is it, and kind of in that coming to the forefront, dismissing everything that came before it.
As we look to Western types of understandings, the scientific models, the medical model, psychology is an outgrowth of the medical model, and it has to be an observable, repeatable phenomenon, all that other stuff.
And a lot of that stuff is, I hate to say it, but geared towards a lot of money making.
Yes, it's an industry.
An industry, yeah.
Right, I mean it is, and that also made me quite skeptical of it, that to get the help you need from that institution, you either have to have very good insurance or have a lot of money, frankly. I thought, this is not right. Where else do you go for healing? So I did the rounds and got into a bunch of different things, and I wanted something that wasn't quite so verbal. Everything is healing is all a matter of how we talk and exchange communication between the one and the other, and there's got to be. It seems so limited to me. Even among many of the New Age modalities, it's all conversationally based. So what else is out there? I'm not quite sure how I got drawn to Shiatsu, but I like the idea of moving away from the verbal and working with the body. Then I had my own health challenges that were physical, and I was trying to understand what was that all about? What was the body saying? What was the body? Because the body has its own language, and frankly, the Chinese medicine, Shiatsu, spoke to that. Well, this is what the body's saying. When you get a migraine headache, that's heat. That's heat rising. Oh, that makes sense. It's in my head. It's rising to the top, right? It's stasis. It's blood congealing. Not congealing, but stuck. Oh my God, it feels like that. So they were able to give language, a vernacular to what the body was was saying through its symptoms, and that fascinated me. It was a whole different language. And in addition to that, I am very scientific by nature, even though I may not seem it, but here's this whole construct, this theory, this body of knowledge, but it has an application, and it proves itself in the clinic through acupuncture, through herbal medicine, through Shiatsu, through acupressure, through Qigong, Tai Chi, so you have some proof of the concepts before and after, and I thought, well gosh, this kind of appeals to me. It's not just pie in the sky. There's an application. I read a book in Chinese medicine where he said, if it doesn't stand the proof of the clinic, it's dismissed. It's by an old school acupuncturist, Chinese guy, and I said, damn right, like why else? Because this guy's saying it?
Yeah.
No, where? So maybe it's my hang-up. I require a little more empirical substance. So I like that part of it. Okay, is my working these points, am I really doing anything? Well, yeah, because this has thousands of years of application, these points. Clinical evidence that they work. Wow. So that appealed to me.
Kind of like,
that appealed to me.
I think somewhere in here it's compared to, some call Shiatsu also assisted yoga.
Okay.
Right? And yoga is a science as well.
It is. It's, I'm not, but again, okay, so that's the, that originated more on the Hindu, I'm trying to think of the word. But okay, that body of knowledge came from their understanding, again, of how energy manifests through the body and putting you through a series of movements to help free up that energy. I never really could understand yoga. Why were people getting in these strange positions until I began to understand Chinese medicine Shiatsu? They're working with the qi. They're releasing the qi by putting themselves in these positions that help break up the congestion and bring you back into balance and health. And health. So yeah, we do a lot in Shiatsu with putting the receiver. So the word I was looking for before, not the client, not the customer, the receiver. And I'm the giver. In yoga types of positions to help restore energetic balance by freeing up anything that's holding that energy from moving. So we have a lot of stretching, a lot of positioning, and when I put somebody in a yoga-like position, I may also be working on points to further encourage it. I'll be working maybe with visualization too, my intent, how I see that energy flowing through the body. I'm just starting to work with that. Our teachers, some of our teachers would encourage that.
Aren't you a Reiki master as well?
I am, but I don't actively practice Reiki.
Not that you're saying it out loud, but isn't that something that you kind of just carry with you once you know it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so Reiki is Japanese. Hey, great, Shiatsu is Japanese, but it's based on the same understandings of energy, qi. And that we also can work the energy with our intention, with our visualization. So yeah, the Reiki sessions that I would do a lot of visualization.
So when I asked you the question, what attracted you to doing this kind of work, what I heard you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, you said you start talking about psychology and kind of all coming from the head, and what I kind of heard you saying is a lot of what's offered in the Western world is, in a lot of ways, ego-based? Kind of.
Well, I don't know if I would put it ego. I'll mention him because I'm doing a plug for this guy because I just think he's one of my favorite teachers. Bradford Keeney. He's a psychologist, headed up doctoral programs, wrote a ton of books, and then just said, this is not right. And he found himself studying with the indigenous healers around the world, and he's written a lot of books about that, and he conducts workshops. But he said the problem with practitioners now, with the psychology and the medical doctors, is they forgot their elders. Mm-hmm. Like, why have we not really listened to what certain folks have been saying for eons? Why are we just totally convinced that doesn't have any validity in today's day and time? And that really resonated with me, because these people were healing each other, really healing each other without the medicines and without psychology. And what are they doing? A lot of what they're doing is energy work. Mm-hmm. We need to respect that and to go back and hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
So that's what drew me to it. The other part about it is that, my goodness, in today's day and time, we don't get touched. And we know that touch feels good. We probably crave it a lot more than we admit to. But the healing power of touch is just something that has largely been discarded, and really needs to be brought back into the fold of healthcare. I don't even like to use that word because that's, again, but when somebody needs healing, they need to be touched. It's not trivial.
No, not at
it
all.
It really is not.
But missing in our Western medical model of,
Right. And even in the New Age medical model.
That's true. That's true.
We're doing visualizations, we're doing this, we're setting our intent, we're talking, we're listening, but are we touching? Well, there are workshops and classes and whatnot that are more touch-based, but I think it has to be integral to any and all of our ways to invoke, to elicit healing.
Do you see that? Are you aware if that is being integrated into, say, hospitals or nursing homes or?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah. I think I see a lot of nurses taking healing touch classes. I remember once I had a biopsy, and I was shaking like a leaf before they inserted the needle. And the nurse came and just held my hand. And I'll never forget this, as soon as she held my hand, I stopped shaking. I did not think about it. It didn't take me a moment to settle. It stopped. And I was just amazed at how powerful is that, right? So I do know of nurses taking those kind of classes. I did a little bit of hospice training, but not too much hospice work. But they tell us about that, holding the hand. And when somebody's that sick and they're dying, what else can you give them? You gonna talk to them? Yeah, you can talk. Probably just holding their hand or gentle touching is about as powerful of an intervention as you can offer. So I've grown to understand the power of touch. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing Shiatsu.
Yeah. When you have an opportunity to listen to this video back, you may be surprised that you did such a wonderful job at connecting all these dots as to what led you to this point in time doing the kind of work that you do.
Yeah, it's been a good discussion because I've never really, I kind of knew it all, but never really expressed it. But yeah, I see that there's been a progression.
Yeah,
There's a nice, what's the word? Interconnectedness of the sequencing of events.
And you've touched on so many great points of what seems to me a big missing gap in our Western society. And hopefully anybody who's watching this video will get that connection and understand that Shiatsu and what you offer is a choice that's available, but maybe not, maybe isn't out there like your general practitioner, or take this pill, or it's not an easy fix. Would you agree with that? That it's a relationship that kind of has to unfold between you and the giver and the receiver? It's not an easy fix?
Oh, well.
Like take this pill?
Wow, that's a
Get this
loaded
surgery?
question.
It sure is. I'm good at that.
Some people come, well, the closest I can say is it depends.
Not to exclude the Western medical model, not to exclude surgery or exclude medication. I don't mean to imply that, but to know that there are other choices, and maybe to include those other choices with what's in the forefront that's usually offered to people.
Correct me. No, I'm not correcting you.
No, it's all right.
I'm trying to give a coherent response. I just think it's incumbent, three things, incumbent on everybody to just take charge of their health care. Look at the alternatives.
Be your own advocate?
Oh my goodness, because if you're not going to be your own advocate, the medical institution will advocate for you.
Yep.
And they will make all the decisions for you.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, healing, again, respect the elders out there, see what else is out there. My bias, of course, is the Chinese medicine. There's also the Ayurvedic model and probably others. Some of the shamanic practitioners, but these are our elders. So start a query, look what they're having to say, look at, we didn't get sick necessarily because of our physiology going wrong in a random manner. What led us to this point? Are we living a balanced life? What does Chinese medicine say about living a balanced life in our diet, in our behavior, in our habits? Does it happen? Does it take time to develop a relationship? Yes. I mean, you have to make sure that the practitioner you're dealing with, there's a connection.
Yeah.
If there's not, leave. No matter what they're telling you. But trust your instincts. Do I feel right about this? In Shiatsu, like any other intervention, if the person is ready for healing and the practitioner reads that person right and there's a coming together, you could have a significant change right there and then. Maybe it'll be slow and gradual. Mm-hmm. Maybe it won't happen at all. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to say that will it take time? Yeah, I would say generally you have to give it several sessions, but if you get the right person at the right time and you're ready and there's a good connection, who knows?
Right.
So all that stuff. my basic philosophy, personal philosophy, is why are we here? You know, why are we here? Well, many times we're here to heal.
Why are
we here on this earth? What is our mission in this lifetime? And for those of us who have challenging illnesses, and I've had a number, we're here to heal. We're here to mind, body, spirit, all one. And I find that there's, and that healing, for me, in the throes of medical crises, I did reach out and said, okay, this is going to be a spiritual quest. It's not good enough otherwise.
You mean your life journey is going to be a
yes, I mean, my physical body, it has to, there has to be the spiritual component of it. And what does that mean? I mean, I stumbled on that a little earlier, but the relationship to yourself, relationship to your relationships, and the relationship to the greater whole, that has to be part of the healing quest. If you, especially, well, talking about if you're sick, which most of us are not totally well, you know. But yeah, that has to be brought into the fold, in my opinion.
Yeah, to look at life as that spiritual quest, kind of a holistic viewpoint that, and I speak of the Western society because that's what I grew up in and that's what I know.
Sure.
The value system and the focus of that has been pretty cemented in this conditioning of consumerism and obtaining a whole lot of stuff and
Right.
materialism, and you know, the value system itself, just from my observation, is off balance.
Oh, yeah. Big time. And then when we get sick, it's just because our biology went bad. Laws of physics.
Yeah.
More materialism.
Yeah.
Right. So materialism extends right into our disease model and the model of health, which is, there is not much of a model there, it's just the absence of disease.
And what we value as a society.
Yes.
In my observation, is pretty off balance and could make somebody
sick.
So to find someone like you who is offering this kind of work,
Yeah.
It's becoming more and more available, but it can be sometimes like finding a needle in a haystack because of what's really valued and kind of pushed to that forefront. So, you know, as we said, to become your own life advocate, you know, on all levels of your being.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come along and do it for us.
And so far, optimizing our health, healing any kind of imbalances, yeah, it really starts with going inside. It starts with studying our self-study. It starts with a real desire to reconnect with ourselves in a different manner, relating to ourselves different manner, relating to spirit in a different manner, or start if it's never been done. And I don't know, I don't think there's any more ands.
You know, just as much as we can study and, you know, the universe and as far as it could expand and how we study the external expansion of the universe, if we turn that around and go into our inner universe, which
Right.
is there as well, it's just as wide and just as expansive as what we call the external universe. So it seems to me that, as you said, that's a great place to start, to understand that you have an inner universe.
We have an inner universe, and once again, Taoism would say, Chinese medicine was saying that other universe is circulating within
Yes.
you. So you might as well start.
Yes.
You might as well start with yourself, because we're just an expression of the same energetic substrate, the chi, that we see in the universe, this life force. It's all working through us, right?
So when we're looking at a star,
it's a continuum.
As Carl Sagan used to say, we are star stuff.
Absolutely.
When we look at a star, we're looking at us.
He's right. He's right. We don't quite operate out of that understanding, but that is the case. That's our mission, to get back to that kind of understanding, that kind of relating.
To get back to what's natural.
What's natural.
And somehow we disconnected from that, but I think we're finding our way back. And thanks to people like yourself who...
You're kind.
It's true. It's true, who have the courage to step out at no matter, what part in our life. And a lot of us are doing it in middle age and beyond. We're stepping out and we're making changes, and we're being that change we want to see in the world.
Okay, well, where we are in our age, which is middle age, it's the metal. But it's the metal phase, according to the 5 elements. And what metal means is extracting the essence from Earth. Earth is the great mother, Earth is the great nourisher, Earth is the abundance. But now we're refining the process, and our value systems are becoming more gelled. We're just taking the essentials, and we're discarding all the rest. So that's what came to my mind. I keep relying on the 5 elements because it speaks so beautifully to our lives. I didn't
realize that at different ages there's an element that's kind of connected to that.
Yeah, there's a growth cycle in the 5 elements. The next element is back to water, which is our demise. I shouldn't say it like that, but it's coming back to the point of creation, to the source, which is water. And from there, springs. Spring, which is wood. Maybe that's childhood, maybe that's adolescence, and then into summer, which, I don't know, maybe I'm ad-libbing here. Adulthood. The enthusiasm, the vibrancy, the expression, the passion of life. And then as we get older, we get wiser and we slow down and we become a little more philosophical, and that's metal. And where Earth, it kind of stays in the middle and holds us all together. That's the mother, that's the nourishment, that's the point of balance that brings it all together. So it's like, it speaks like a beautiful poem.
It does.
Doesn't it?
Because life can be.
It really is. And it's such a wonderful metaphor. But yeah. So we're in our wisdom years right now.
So is there anything, if you were to say to somebody who happens upon this video, is there anything you would want to say to them to invite you into your practice of Shiatsu?
Yeah, check it out.
Check it out!
It's a beautiful practice. It's a beautiful practice. Sometimes when I'm doing it, I'm just like, I feel, wow, what a gift this is, to be able to do this and be able to share in this. And I get as much out of giving it as receivers get out of receiving it. But check out, in general, just check out some of these other healing modalities. Massage is good. This is something different. And I would just encourage you to explore it. www. I have to do it.
Yes, of course.
ShiatsuEnergetics.com.
Michael Joseph.
Michael Joseph, if you want to find a little bit more about it. Or go to YouTube and just type in Zen Shiatsu and see what some sessions look like. I think you'll be you'll be impressed.
And all age groups are welcome. There's no
All
limitations.
age groups are welcome. No limitations. I've had all different clients with all different kind of limitations. So I just customized the session per their requirements.
Thank you, Mike.
Oh, thank you, Irma. It's been a good conversation.
Touch.
Okay, touch. Touch is good.